Welcome back to the Badass Broadcast. I'm your host, favorite fire starter and nervous system regulator, the Queen Lady T. And baby, today we are talking about something that might ruffle a few spiritual feathers. But if you're on the healer's journey, you need this conversation. So first of all, the title says it all. Spirituality is not your escape route. Because too many people aren't walking into spirituality to heal. They're running into it to hide from grief, trauma, rejection, from a life that never felt safe to be themselves. So they grab the crystals and the cards and the candles and the Reiki courses, and at first it all feels so magical and empowering and like they finally found the light. But then the shadow shows up. The nervous system gets overwhelmed, the dreams get chaotic, the energy feels heavy and scary and dark. And instead of realizing they just met their own unhealed pain, they blame the tools, they blame the practice, they blame evil and the devil. So today, we're dropping truth bombs. Spirituality isn't an escape hatch. It's an initiation back into your body, your shadow, and your responsibility. So buckle up, healer. Let's get into it.
It's a badass broadcast.
Now, before we go any further, we need to clear something up. Everybody's always asking, what's spirituality? Or better yet, everybody's always implying what spirituality is. But here's the real answer. Everything is spiritual. Breathing is spiritual. Crying in your car is spiritual. Losing your temper and realizing you still have healing to do, that's spiritual. Folding laundry while disassociating, still spiritual. Because spirituality isn't an aesthetic. It's not a vibe or an outfit. It's not a feed or a bio. It's the fact that you are a spirit having a human experience, period. Because people love to treat spirituality like it's a religion in disguise. Because their conditioning won't let them release the need for structure and hierarchy and someone else being in charge. So they leave religion and accidentally rebuild it with crystals. Now, instead of pastors, they have gurus. Instead of scripture, they have Instagram quotes. Instead of commandments, they got high vibe only rules and spiritual superiority complexes. But hello, somebody. Spirituality is not the opposite of religion. Religion is simply one expression of spirituality. The one with the rule books and gatekeepers and the long list of shoulds and shouldn'ts and the sky-based management. You don't get to crown yourself awakened and everyone else asleep just because they drink Starbucks and don't have a singing bowl. Some of the most spiritual looking people on the internet will talk love and light all day, but try disagreeing with them just once and watch how fast their inner monk turns into a comment section gladiator. It's like calling yourself a black belt in peace and then throwing a folding chair the second someone questions your worldview. And baby, that's not enlightenment. That's ego in a linen outfit. And here's the truth. A lot of people don't want to hear. Even the ones leading from ego, even the ones spiritually posturing, even the ones faking it, they're all still spiritual. Because spirituality is not a badge you earn. It's your nature. The difference is awareness, embodiment, responsibility. And I want to talk about what happens when you open yourself up energetically without inner safety. When you run into spirituality as a rebellion, or when you use it to avoid grief instead of feeling it. When you drown yourself in mantras and tarot pulls and good vibes only because actually sitting with your pain feels unbearable. You can't bypass the body. You might think you can. Again, that's your ego running the show. But you can't chant your way out of a dysregulated nervous system. You can't sage away unprocessed trauma. Your body is always keeping score. And your nervous system will expose you faster than a kid who just learned how to tattle. You can smile, affirm, visualize, and love and light all day. But if your system doesn't feel safe, if your grief is still locked in your chest, if your anger is still buried under spiritual politeness, then the moment you start working with more energy, whether it's Reiki or breathwork or Kundalini or mediumship, any of it, you don't just open to the light. You open to everything you've been avoiding. And if you don't know how to hold yourself, that awakening won't feel magical. It'll feel like you just opened the portal to hell. And no, you didn't do anything wrong. There's no wrong way to spiritual. You didn't invite in any demons, and spirituality isn't dangerous. But you did crack open a door your nervous system wasn't ready to walk through. When you rush into energy work, when you force yourself open, when you chase awakening instead of building safety, you don't just access higher realms. You access stored pain, old fear, buried memories, suppressed emotions, the parts of you worked overtime to avoid. And when all of that rises at once, your system goes into survival. Heart racing, sleep disrupted, anxiety through the roof, intrusive thoughts, feeling like you're not in your body. You might even be feeling watched, heavy, or overstimulated. So the mind tries to make sense of it. It must be dark energy. I opened something. I'm under attack. This isn't safe. But what's actually happening is this. Your body is saying, that's too much, too fast. I don't feel safe. Because spirituality doesn't just open your crown, it opens your basement too. And if you haven't built a relationship with your own body, if you don't know how to ground, regulate, or slow down, if you've been trying to ascend without anchoring, then yeah, it can feel like hell. You didn't go anywhere evil. You didn't invite anything evil in. You just finally felt the parts of yourself you abandoned. And nobody told you that healing doesn't feel like light. This shit is rough and rugged and ghetto as fuck. Sometimes it feels like meeting the ghost of every version of you that never got held. And I want to bring it into Reiki for a second, because I've seen multiple people drag Reiki saying it's evil. They opened the door to demons and all these dark things start happening when they did Reiki. And here's actually what happens. People rush into Reiki the way folks sign up for a gym membership on January 1st. They're hyped, inspired, ready for a new identity. Ready for something that isn't the church that traumatized them. They see someone calm and grounded and glowing. They see the testimonies. They see the Reiki master title. And they think, that's what I need. That's what I want. So they sign up for courses and get attuned and maybe even stack multiple levels back to back. But let me slow down and explain, because I feel like not too many people do. It's not just a certificate. It's an energetic opening. You're increasing the flow of energy, the flow of life force through your system. You're turning up the voltage, and if your nervous system is already fried, if your trauma is still sitting unprocessed in your body, if you've been disassociating instead of feeling, that increased energy doesn't just make you more intuitive. It amplifies everything. Your anxiety, your grief, your suppressed rage, your childhood wounds, your fear of being seen. Reiki doesn't create darkness. It illuminates what's already there. I love this quote from X-Men 97 when Storm says, "What are demons but reflections of our fears and shame? Things we bury within us, hide from our loved ones, even as they poison our heart, until we finally heal our adversary by embracing it." You see, demons aren't external invaders. They're unintegrated parts, buried fear, unfelt grief, unprocessed shame. And the healing doesn't come from fighting them, it comes from embracing them. But see, without grounding and integration, your newfound illumination can feel like overload or chaos, or like something is wrong. And this is where most people panic. They don't realize that they just opened a healing process that they weren't ready to hold. So instead of slowing down and getting support, they run. And a lot of times they run right back to religion, to the structure, the certainty, the rules, the black and white safety. And suddenly, Reiki is demonic. Energy work is dangerous. Meditation opened a portal. Not because it actually did, but because their systems got so overwhelmed and fear needed a story. And well, you want stories? Religion can offer you that. A very clear one. There's good, there's evil. Stay over here where it's safe. So now they believe they have to choose God or energy, prayer or Reiki, church or consciousness. Reiki isn't a religion, but that truth doesn't fit into a fear-based box. It doesn't ask you to worship anything. It doesn't demand you to believe in a specific deity. It's simply working with the life force that already moves through all living things. The problem was never the energy. The problem was opening the door without learning how to stay in your body when things started to move. And listen, because this part is important. You can absolutely have a spiritual practice and still love Jesus. You can work with energy and still pray. You can meditate and still go to church. The idea that you can only have one comes from fear, not truth. Because real spirituality isn't threatened by other paths. Only systems built on control are. If you cracked open something you weren't ready to hold, don't blame the tool. Learn how to hold yourself. That's the healer's journey. Not collecting modalities, but becoming safe enough inside your own body to channel love without drowning in what rises with it. And let me be clear about something else. I'm not here to tell you you're doing spirituality wrong. Because whether you're performing it or embodying it, it's all part of the path. Even the ego phases, the spiritual superiority phases, even the I'm more awakened than anyone seasons. Still spiritual, still human, still learning. I'm not the gatekeeper of enlightenment. I don't care to hand out gold stars for who's the most conscious, but I am a mirror. And if you ride by on your spiritual high horse, talking about love and light while treating people like they're beneath you, yeah, I'm gonna call you out on this shit. Not to shame you or to tear you down, but because real spirituality is about integration, not illusion. You don't get to preach oneness and then practice separation. Make it make sense. You don't get to talk compassion and move with contempt. You don't get to cosplay healed while bleeding on everyone around you and calling it shadow work. That's not judgment. That's responsibility, because this path is not about being the most spiritual person in the room. It's about being the most honest with yourself. And sometimes honesty sounds like love. Sometimes it sounds like accountability. Sometimes it sounds like, hey, come back into your body. And while we're on the topic of spiritual high horses, there's one more thing I want to touch on. The chosen one story. And yeah, I know I'm about to trigger somebody today, but that's okay. Growth does that. If you're still running around building your identity around being chosen, still centering your spirituality on how much you've suffered, how different you are, how set apart you've been, there's still some ego work waiting for you. And that's not an insult. That's an invitation. Yes, you've been through hard things. Yes, you've had dark nights of the soul. Yes, you've shed skins and survived versions of yourself that had to die. But suffering doesn't make you more chosen than anyone else. It makes you human. Somewhere along the line, people start turning pain into a spiritual status symbol. Like trauma is proof of divine selection, or hardship is a badge for cosmic favoritism. But let's really look at that. Chosen by who? And chosen for what? There isn't some being in the sky handing out awakening assignments to the strongest soldiers. And I know that's a nice story that people like to tell because it makes your pain and your trouble feel so much more worth it. But the truth is, you chose to come here. Your soul chose this life, this body, these lessons, this tearing. Not as punishment or proof of worth, not for a spiritual VIP pass, but as experience and evolution and expression. And I know this might sting a little bit, might even piss somebody off. But if your identity is built around being the one who suffered, if your spirituality revolves around retelling your wounds as proof that you're special, you might still be surviving your story instead of integrating it. Because the real flex isn't what you went through. The real flex is, can you sit with yourself now? Can you regulate through your triggers? Can you heal without needing an audience? Can you grow without turning your pain into a pedestal? That's embodiment. Because we are all chosen. If you are here breathing and in a body, your spirit was chosen for something. Some are here to teach, to build, to heal, to love loudly. Some are here to shake systems or simply exist in a way that wakes others up. Different roles, same worth. So this isn't me saying you're not chosen. It's me saying you don't have to suffer to justify your existence. You don't have to wear your pain like a crown. You don't have to build a spiritual identity around being the most wounded person in the room. You can be powerful without being a martyr. You can be awake without being set apart. You can be spiritual without making yourself the exception to humanity. And when you release the need to be the chosen one, you finally get to be here in your body, in your breath, in your actual life. So let's practice that right now. Before we close this out, I want you to actually feel what we've been talking about. Not think about it, not analyze it. Just feel it. So if you can, put both feet on the floor. Sit back in your chair and let your spine be supported instead of holding yourself up like you have something to prove. Now take one slow breath through your nose and a long exhale out your mouth. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth like you're fogging up a mirror. Good. Now I want you to gently press your feet into the floor, just enough to feel your legs engage. You're reminding your body, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm in this moment. Now place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and instead of trying to breathe right, just notice your breath. Notice where you feel tight. Notice where you feel numb. Notice if your mind is trying to run away from this moment. And if it is, that's okay. Just say quietly in your mind, come back. Not to the past or to the story, not to the spiritual identity. Come back to your body. Come back to your breath. Come back to now. Take one more slow inhale. And on the exhale, feel your shoulders drop. This right here is spirituality too. Being with yourself in your body without performing, without escaping. Just you and your breath and the truth of this moment. And just like that, you came back. Not to an identity or label or performance, but to your body. That's the healer's journey. We're not collecting titles or stacking certifications or trying to be the most spiritual person in the room. But just learning how to stay with yourself when things feel big, when energy moves, when old pain rises, when your nervous system says, this is a lot. Today wasn't about telling you to stop being spiritual. It was just to remind you that spirituality isn't an escape route. It's the path back home to yourself, back to your breath, back to your body, to the parts of you that need presence more than performance. If you've rushed, it's okay. If you've overwhelmed yourself, it's okay. If you've been spiritually performing because you didn't know how to just be, it's okay. Awareness is the initiation. Embodiment is the work. Integration is the real magic. This is the healer's journey. Not glamorous or instant, but honest, grounded, and deeply human. And did I mention ghetto as fuck? And from this place, your gifts become safe, your energy becomes steady, your spirituality becomes something you live, not something you try to prove. Next week, the healer's journey continues as we break down the difference between sacred service and wounded saving. Until then, remember, you are an unstoppable badass, worthy of everything your heart desires. Let's get it.
The spark ignites a revolution born in the firelight. No more hiding, no playing small. It's time to rise, we're claiming it all.
If this episode spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, send it to someone who needs a dose of badassery in their life. Want to be a guest on the show? Got a powerful story, message, or mission? Apply now at unstoppablebadass.me. Need a high vibe home for your healing and growth? Join my free Facebook community, the Elevated Soul Tribe. It's where soul-led women come to rise, connect, and stay real. If you're a seer, light worker, or spiritual badass who's done shrinking, step inside the fire and rise with us in Sacred Wildfire, my virtual queen circle. Feeling stuck or ready to break through? Book your free badass breakthrough session and let's uncover what's been holding you back. Clarity, power, momentum, all waiting on the other side. Ready to activate your healing gifts? Enroll in my Kundalini Reiki activation and attunement course. Step into or deepen your healer's journey with sacred energy work that transforms you from the inside out. Want to show some love? Donate or shop at buymeacoffee.com/the Queen Lady Tea, because your support helps me keep lighting fires and dropping truth. You can find all these links in the show notes, the description, or at unstoppablebadass.me. Thank you so much for rocking with me, and I'll catch you in the next episode of the Badass Broadcast.
It's the Badass Broadcast. Claim your crown. No limits, no boundaries, no backing down. For the dreamers, The fighters, the ones who dare to rise from the ashes to take their share. This is your anthem, your power unleashed, a movement of love, a force of peace. It's the badass broadcast. It's your time, step into the spotlight, let yourself shine.